Tell us about when you taught at Marywood High School in Orange and what subjects you taught.
I taught from 1964 to 1974. I got there just after the school had been opened, the new school. So I never saw the old one. They had torn it down by the time I got there in August. I was a teacher of math, science, and religion, and I taught physics. And I had an illness the first year I was there. And when I came home, they asked me to start writing the checks to pay the bills for the sisters and the school. And it was all one big account. I'd pay for sisters' shoes, and then I'd pay for food for the cafeteria. And it was shoebox accounting. And during that time that I was there, in the 10 years, Sister Margaret Kern became our financial representative, and she got us into a good accounting system. And I went to Notre Dame for 3 summers to learn non-profit accounting. And so it changed my focus gradually from teaching to business management. And I went to Notre Dame and got a grant. I got a degree in non-profit finance. And so we also had a lawsuit about the construction of the school. The school was beginning to show cracks and other difficulties. And so I kind of managed that over about a 4 or 5 year period. And we settled out of court before the lawsuit, before we went to trial. And so that gave me a lot of new experiences. And I loved Marywood. They tore it down recently, about 3 years ago, to build private homes on the property, and that kind of broke my heart because it was beautiful architecture, even though it had building problems. But it was a wonderful school, and it was the spirit was great. We had a married couple, who came from Cuba to the United States, and they lived in an apartment on the campus and did the maintenance. They were beautiful people, and so I knew them very well and enjoyed them very much. The other things we had there was a music department. I taught physics. We had a boarding school for boarding students, and many of them were from Mexico. And I'm losing my train of thought. They were boarding students. So we had all kinds of duties where we'd answer the phone and the doorbell and be in charge of the dorm during study periods and time in between meals and things. So again, it was a very new, broad experience. We had an excellent faculty. and the school itself was so pleasant. I've turned in my yearbooks to archives, so and there are records in archives about the lawsuit also.
So you've touched on it a little bit, but can you tell a little bit more about what was special about Marywood?
What was special about Marywood? The class spirit was good. They participated in whatever activities were going on. They had athletic teams and art classes and drama. We had a drama department and a music department that were very active. I had a homeroom, and my homeroom participated in, at Christmas time, in doing things for a poor family. We adopted a family, and we went to the house and found out what they needed and then provided that. And the homeroom students, there was so much we couldn't, half the classroom was filled with things that they brought for this family, a mother and her 3 children. And we went back to see them after Christmas, and we could see nothing that we had taken there, like a hobby horse. And so it was very heartrending because they weren't able to lift themselves up to a greater participation in society. So.
Do you have any memories about a specific interaction with a specific student that you can think of?
The student I remember best, their family had a cabin up in the mountains about a half-hour's drive from the school, and they often loaned it to us as faculty to spend the weekend up there. And that was a great experience. We had a student who was handicapped. She probably had polio. And I never heard anyone say an unkind word to her. She participated in everything, even though she had a limp. And she was an outstanding citizen. I don't hear from anyone from there now.
And what do you hope the students at Marywood took away with them? What do you hope that the students took away from their time at Marywood?
Oh, to be outstanding citizens. They filled all the roles of running the school, and it gave them experiences that they wouldn't have had in a co-ed school. And they were very loyal. And very caring. We always had projects going for poor people, and then we had the Hispanic students who were from Mexico, and they were kind of a handful because they came from homes that were well-to-do, and one student told us she had never washed her own hair. and they would make popcorn at night and hide the dirty dishes in the oven or under the sink or so, but they were lovely girls. They were just lovely, and they were successful in learning English and contributing to the school.
Okay, and is there anything else, any other memories from Marywood that we haven't talked about that you'd like to share?
We had a fire. There was a fire started in Riverside, 21 miles away. It was a brush fire, and the high, dry winds were blowing from east to west, and it blew the fire across the premises, all the 21 miles. It was on a Sunday night, and we had about 20 boarders there. The rest were going to come in the morning. And we tried to close up the school. We contacted the police to have transportation available for the resident students. And the fire reached us. It came across, there was an empty hill across the road from us, and it came across the road and burned some of our ground cover. While it was burning across the street, the students had to walk down to the bottom of the hill because they wouldn't let, they were, people were leaving, and so all the traffic was going down the hill, and they wouldn't let any traffic up the hill. So, but there were cars and buses down there by the time the girls got there. And the fire did not come into our buildings. It stopped at our outer fence. And it took all day to be sure that everything was okay and to get back into the buildings. It was a concrete building, so the chances of it burning were minimal. Even the roofs were concrete. It was a beautiful campus. So I loved being there, and I loved everything I did there.